I love whatever filter this camera has on. Cause honey child, I don't look, it makes me look a lot better than I look in real life. Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and this is late, but who cares? It's a wrap up. And so I was like, should I do it? And then I was like, yeah, mainly because I really want to talk about like 2 books. And is it truly a wrap up? Because no, 1 book I finished this month, but I'm going to do it anyway because who's going to fight me? Nobody. So I don't know the last time I did a wrap up actually. So I'm going to go back to my Goodreads. So this might be June, July, and then I have to tell you about a book that I finished in August. Actually, the only book I finished in August so far because I'm just so annoyed at it. So that's what we're gonna do today. But also before that, I feel I am in such a weird space with, well, it's a weird space up here. But with everything, I feel like with reading, with content creation, with being a human being on this planet, I'm like, what is going on? Why? Do you ever feel like that? Okay, I think here's where I got confused. So in June, I did have some like reading vlogs, so maybe that's not why. And I did a video for Like, Follow, Subscribe, the influencer book. And then, okay, I don't think I talked about Big Swiss. So I read this one in June for the book club here. I don't think I talked about it, but it has a very interesting cover, at least the US cover, and it was something. The prompt for book club before we voted was like mess, or like messy people, messy situations. And so when we started the book club meeting, they were like, go around, describe this book in 1 word. And some people were like disgusting, like, I don't know, some like very descriptive words. And I said underwhelming because I just thought this would be, well, obviously I hoped it would be better, but it just felt, to me, I didn't feel strong feelings about any of the characters, but being like, y'all are weird. Everything's just weird, and not in the I like it weird. It's just in the what's the point weird. With the main character who is a transcribist for like this, is he a real therapist, sex therapist guy? And she starts kind of building a fascination with one of his clients, and then they end up meeting in real life and they have a weird relationship. And there's other weird things, like the weird house she lives in, and there's bees, and the weird lady that she lives with, and her, and I don't know, ever since finding the exact flavor of weird girl lit fic is that I like is very difficult, and this one just felt underwhelming. It just felt boring to me, and I know lit fic is not really a plot driven thing, so I really have to be invested in the characters and what they're doing, and I was not here, so I just gave that one a 2-star. But then end of June, beginning of July, I listened to an audiobook from Libro FM. Thank you so much. I had not heard about this, but it's called Fast by Millie Belazaire, and I was like, I haven't heard about this. I guess it came out several years ago, but maybe the audio just got done because it was on Libro. But I was like, I read some of the reviews. It has like really great reviews. Like it has a 4.71, and I was like, oh my god. And so it is a romance. I would categorize it as that, but also a coming of age story. So we start with the characters Caprice and Sean when they're like in elementary school. Caprice, did her mother die? She's basically sent to live with her grandmother in Florida, and she meets Sean. He's her neighbor, and they're friends, and we watch them like grow up through high school, and then they go their separate ways, and then we're seeing them as adults and them coming back together. And so I don't know if I normally am not a huge fan of like friends, lovers, whatever, but just because this one did such a good job with the coming of age part, and like that was the focus, I feel like, for the first part of the book before we really get into romantic territory. territory. And I felt so invested in both of them, and I think that's why I enjoyed it. Like, I thought I really loved this book. Gave it 5 stars. I just think that it was just so well done. There are some content warnings to think about. So child abuse, like, you are being described of her like being beaten or burned with a cigarette, and child rape. So be mindful. But it just was done so well in a way. It was like really hard to listen to at times, but there kept being glimmers of hope for these characters, especially Caprice. And it just felt like, I don't know, reminders of, you know, girlhood. And then I love that even though there were different, like, the path to where they got, since it is a romance, they do end up together, wasn't like this straight line, obviously. And the difficult things did happen to them. They still had so much good happen to them. So that felt really good. Like, it made me feel good. Especially, like, the earlier parts were hard because of what especially Caprice was going through. But then you see little positives that she has, people in her life that care about her, and then you get to see her blossom, and as she grows and she's so smart and the things they go on to do, and they're both successful. Like, I love that it didn't have to end up being this tragedy. Like, they do have their trauma, but I'm just like so proud of them. Like, I know them. Like, I just felt so connected to both of them. That's when a story is going to be the best for me, when the characters feel like real people that I'm reading about, that I care about what happens to them, and I understand their motivations for things. And she did that. It was so well done. Oh, they're so precious. I loved it so much. You should read it. I thought the audiobook was great. And yeah, I don't know if she's written anything else, but I definitely would read something else from her. Okay, she does have some other romance stories, so I might have to read more from her, because that was excellent. Thank you to Libro FM. I read Zlata's Diary. It was a part of my first anti-curriculum when I was learning about former Yugoslavia, and it is a child's diary. She was it was her writing her daily thoughts as she was a child in Sarajevo when it was under siege. And so it is really short, but it's impactful, because when all of these things are happening, I mean, it's difficult for any adult to be going under something like under siege, where there's not food, water, electricity, people were getting shot in the streets. But I think it's even, like, it just heightens it up another level when you're reading from the perspective of a child who is there witnessing that. Not because they are not fully understanding why these things are happening, why they're losing family members, why there's less food. Like, they obviously probably do grow up grow up quicker than they usually were, but still, they still don't fully grasp what's going on, like, and why this really is happening. And so, yeah, it was just like a good addition to the other things that I had consumed, to just get like an emotional feel and like a real day in, day out of someone experiencing that. I read so we're into July. I read Elemental by Whitney Hill. This is like a paranormal story, and one of my patrons really loves this book. So Ray and I were reading it. Ray DNF'd it, and I wanted to love it more. I gave it 3 stars. I just feel it obviously is the beginning of a series, because there's a lot of setup. There's, I think, werewolves, vampires. Are there fae? What else? Were there sirens? There's a lot of mythical creatures in it. And I can't explain what our main character was, but she has like a different ability that like she kind of has to hide. But she like moonlights as like a private investigator, and so she gets caught up in some mess with the vampires. Did I say werewolves? And she has like a werewolf friend, and so they're kind of investigating and figuring that stuff out, but then some things are going, stuff like that. And so I don't think it was bad. I just feel like I didn't feel connected to the main character or really anyone, and maybe because I was trying to introduce so much, like introduce the world and everything. There feels like there is a hint of romance that would come later, but there really wasn't anything concrete in this one. And I don't know if I fully understand the magic of the world. So it's probably not one I'll continue. Like I was about to say, if I'm being realistic, it's probably not one I'll continue the series at least. I think the author may have other things. It's a possibility I could try something from her in the future, but it just didn't grab me. And I don't remember how long it was, but it felt like it was taking a while to read. I started it with my eyeballs and then I got the ebook. It's only 309 pages, but it just felt, some of it felt repetitive, and like we just kept getting these things repeated but not answers to other questions that were being presented. I'm sorry, Jemmy. I read The Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest, and this was like perfect summer read. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I love the setting of, well, they were between like the city but also the beach house, and I love this being like a generational thing, that this was left in the family, a successful Black family. And I really enjoyed the main characters and I felt their chemistry. This is a like fake dating trope, but I also liked the side characters, especially her friend and his family members, like especially his sister and mom. And so I really love that, especially in a romance. Like of course I care about the 2 main love interests the most, but I love when you get secondary characters that you also get invested in, especially when it turns into a series and then the next book is going to be about somebody, which I think the next book would be about the hero's sister, I hope, because there was some hinting of that. So yeah, it read pretty fast because romance just typically reads fast, so I thought overall the pacing was pretty good, although it's 400 pages, but it's fine because I read it and I enjoyed it. But I need romance to get back to 300 and under. 400 is, but anyway, still enjoyed it. So I liked both of them. I liked how the fake dating worked and how the relationship evolved and the family. There is, some talks about, because like it's not a spoiler, it happens before this, but like his grandfather passed and he was really close, but he has like a lot of emotions about that, so talking about that is in here. And yeah, it just was a good time. It felt good, it felt summery, and I really liked it. That was my first book I've read by Christina Forrest, so I definitely will read the next one in this series, and then I'll have to go check out some of her other books. I read then The Trees by Percival Everett, and this, I think that all of his books, are they satirical? And I overall enjoyed this. I do have some questions about how it ended, and I didn't really like that, but it read super fast because some of the chapter is just like a few lines, so it was like flying through it, and it was really interesting, this setup of are they in Mississippi, like present day, but then these murders start happening. And the only common thing is, it seems like maybe the body of, it's a man that resembles Emmett Till, is also at the scene. So it's not, so you get a little supernatural, I guess, in there. And it's very interesting. There's a lot of use of the N-word on page hard R. So that's jarring to read. I have complex thoughts about this one. I don't know how to explain, like, I don't read a lot of satire. Maybe that's the thing. And so sometimes reading the characters, I'm like, I know this is supposed to be satirical, but I'm not like enjoying the characters. Like there was no character that I like really cared about. I just wanted to know what was happening and get an explanation. And then the problem is that we really don't get a concrete explanation. Like some things they are said and you can imply, but other things I'm like, okay, but how did this and what is this? I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on that one. I don't have any more to say. Then I listened to the memoir, How to Say Babylon by Sophia Sinclair. Oh, oh, oh. You know, some people write and you're like, their writing is good. And then some people write and you're like, oh my God, you are a wizard with words. You are an artiste. Like you, the English language fears you. Like her writing, her writing combined with her voice narrating this audiobook is perfection. I highly recommend the audio. It is about her life growing up with a father and mother who practiced Rastafarianism, and the lives of her and her siblings in Jamaica with him. And then we get, so we're watching her grow up. You must listen to it, especially the Jamaican patois. It was just so beautiful to listen to. Oh my God. But content warnings, there is child abuse and sexual assault, but she is so talented with her writing. Oh my God. And the imagery she created and the feelings that her writing invoked, and like when she was telling a story about abuse, it was like I was feeling that. Does that make sense? Like I felt pain, and then in positive moments I felt joy. Like her words just like came and washed over me. It is so good. I only knew beforehand about Rastafarianism. I had heard of it. The first time I ever heard of Rastafarianism actually was on an episode of Wife Swap, and it was a white man. And so I had heard about that, and I remember him being like, Jah will provide Rastafari. And so I thought it was like a weird thing white people with dreads like to do. And then I know later I heard about it, but never looked into it. And so, of course, with every religion, there's different branches or different ways people practice, and then how her father was. But of course, it's very patriarchal, and just the things they had to go through as children, even the moment like he made them lock their hair when they didn't want to do that, how that affected them at school. They moved around a lot, so often they were the only children with Rasta parents with locked hair, and how some of those things affected her and opportunities that it affected for her. And there were times when I was just like, is she going to get out of this? Like, is she going to get out of this situation? And it was just so hard to listen to sometimes, because I'm like, oh my God, I just want her to be free and be able to like pursue her dreams. And so there are moments where it was like, and not because I was bored and not because I felt like I was dragging on too long, I just felt so deeply for her. But by the end is a lot more positive. But it's just phenomenal. So you learn more about Rastafarianism, and also just how that affects women and children, because her father had 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy, and so you even get to see in that how the son is treated differently than the daughters. It's just good, okay? You just need to listen to it, damn. So I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and I own them. I think they're over there. I bought both of them a few years ago, and I know people rave about them, love them. So finally sat down to read it. I buddy read it with Robin. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be whatever, because I think I read the first chapter a year or so ago and I wasn't into it. But this time I was like, okay, and kept going. And like, I was flying through this. I read it with my eyeballs. I was loving it. I thought the pacing was great. Is Elsbeth the best female main character? No, but I liked her. I really liked Raven. I liked their chemistry. I liked the magic of this world, of this place that basically has a fog over it, and there's these cards that give people abilities, and there's been a search for like a missing card, and that they can unite all of these cards. They can basically like clear this mist and basically be living in a better kingdom. And so the politics and all of that, the magic, what's going on with Elspeth, is if you know, you know. Loved it. Fascinating. I just was like flying through it. Again, I was reading with my eyeballs, so I really felt chemistry between the main characters, and I was stressed out. I would be messaging Robin like, oh my God, this just happened. What is going on? And then we get to the end and I'm like, oh shit, I have to go into the next one. And I have not felt that way about a book in a while, where I like immediately want to go into the next book. Because the first one was so good. Pacing great, story great. I liked the characters, magic interesting. It just felt fresh to me. Had a ball. So then 1 week goes by, we start Two Twisted Crowns. Now, without spoiling, the way One Dark Window ends, we basically pick up in Two Twisted Crowns. My battery's gonna die. Where were we? I took a minute between changing out the battery and the thoughts started to come in. So then I sat for a minute. Anyway, I think we were talking about Two Twisted Crowns. So something happens at the end of One Dark Window. We pick that up at Two Twisted Crowns. But that means that we have different POVs in Two Twisted Crowns. And we have a different pair come to the front as the main couple. I did not like that. I did not like that because the dude, I liked him fine enough when I saw him through someone else's POV, but I didn't like him as a POV character. Her, I didn't like in the first book. Still didn't like in this one. At first I was like, oh, maybe, you know, I don't really understand her and I'll understand better. Yeah, still, I began to understand and still didn't enjoy her as a character in the forefront. And then our characters from the first book we get, but one less of for reasons, and then the other one is a POV. But another thing is the one of the characters from the first book is focused on this thing that's kind of the overarching plot with the cards and the lore and the mythology of the world and trying to figure that out. He has a deadline. He has things to do. Our new ones are doing something else. And I didn't really care what they were doing. So we would be in this POV and I'm like, ooh, okay, we're getting somewhere. We're doing things. We're going places. We're talking to people. Then it ends and it goes over here. And I'm like, I don't care. You were just like, we're at the thing and somebody might be drowning or dead or bleeding out or something. You just left me on a cliff and I got to go over here to where I don't care about what they're doing. And it kept going like that. And so that messed with the pacing because I would read a little bit and I'd be like, oh, I'm interested. And then it would be their chapters and I would be like, all right. And I'd put the book down. So that messed with me. And then overall, I just feel like the second half, it just was feeling really convoluted. Like we got answers to everything, but the explanations and all the different things, and then we revealed this and the who, but then you and him, and oh, it might be. I was just like, it's a little longer than the first book, but it felt a lot longer than the first book. And maybe it's the way we were switching the POVs who were in different places. I just was like, by halfway, I was like, I really don't care. I do want to know what happens. Like, do we clear up this mist? Do they find all the cards? I want to find that out. But like, those two as a main front couple I just did not care about, and that really killed a lot of the enjoyment of the book for me. And we just get so little of Elspeth in this one. And yeah, the chapters we do get of her are different for reasons, and I just didn't, that was such a letdown. So I went from, I rated One Dark Window basically 4.5 out of 5. And then this one, I'm being generous at 3. It's really like a 2.5. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is amazing. This is about to be my new favorite duo. Nope. No. And I was struggling to get through it. So then I switched to the audio for Two Twisted Crowns, which is also a mistake because I did not like the narrator, especially for like Raven, and it was just like one woman. And I preferred the voice I was giving Raven in my mind than what the narrator was doing. But I was like, I'm trying to get through this book and finish. So it was helpful in that way, but what a letdown. I am interested in the Moth or whatever other new I don't know if it's a duology that Rachel Gillick has, but I'm not gonna buy it. I'll just get it from the library and see how I feel about it. But wow, I was up here and then I got brought down here. And yeah. I finished A Wizard of Earthsea, but I don't want to talk about it because I'm gonna discuss it with Patreon, so I will save those thoughts. Spoiler alert. So those are my recent reads. My reading's really slowed down, but I know for some people when their mental health is not great, they read a lot more. Mine is the opposite. When mine's not great, I read a lot less, and so that's been my truth. Currently, I'm rereading Vicious for the read-along that I'm hosting. If you don't know about it, it's on my community tab, and we're gonna have a live discussion on Sunday, September 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern about Vicious, and then September we'll read Vengeful, discuss it in October. Then in October, the third and final book comes out, discuss it in November. I loved Vicious when I first read it 8 years ago. I'm still enjoying it right now. I've gotten like 90 pages in. I DNF'd Vengeful though, so it's gonna be interesting to revisit that one. But I'm interested. I wanted to read it so I could read Victorious. And I'm also listening to Kin by Tayari Jones as an audiobook. And that's where I am in my reading at the moment. So how's your reading been? If you read both One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, please let me know your thoughts. Like, did you enjoy them equally or one more than the other? Please tell me, because man, that made me so upset. And that's the only book I finished thus far. It is August 18th. I've only finished Two Twisted Crowns, and it's because it took me so long to read. I didn't want to read it. Anyway, that was a lot of yappage. It's finally raining. We haven't had rain in weeks. Hell, it might be months. I hope it just keeps raining all day. Anyway, tell me about your reading. How are you? But thank you for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.